So we got a whole lot of nothing to talk about this weekend. And like we were literally like just talking about this before we hit record, and like, you know, we're gonna talk a little bit about Alistair Overeem defeating Petr Hari in Glory Kickboxing, because that was pretty cool. But you know, we picked like a couple MMA topics, and we figure we'll just have like a just chill pod today.
Yeah, we got left with nothing to talk about again this week.
Yeah,
like
it's
literally 2 weeks after our spelling bee. Now.
Yeah, we were like, we could do that again, but then we were like, yeah, we could probably wait a little longer for the next one. And
going off the cuff a little bit here.
Yeah, but I think we'll be all right. I figure one cool thing we could do, though, is look at like the next few UFC events, since they're obviously coming back next week. We kind of mentioned this in the, I think, was it in the last show? Might have been in the show before that with the UFC quality. I think it was the last show.
Yeah.
And we briefly touched on the next card, which was Alexa Grasso versus Vivian Araujo. I think that's how you say it. I'm going to go with it no matter what. And, you know, I'm looking at the rest of this card. It's not that bad. So the co-main event is bantamweight, Cub Swanson's bantamweight debut versus Jonathan Martinez, who is another awesome striker like Cub. I really like that fight in the co-main event. I think that's perfect for that type of co-main. And then before that, there's Brandon Royval versus Askar Askarov, which is going to be a fucking banger at flyweight. Like, this card, in terms of name value, there's definitely like a few people on here that are good, like Cub, obviously, Alexa Grasso, Misha Serkinov's fighting, Alonzo Menefield. Those are two guys who've been around for a bit. Nick Maximov versus Jacob Malkoun. I like that fight a lot. I'm intrigued actually to see how like Malkoun's striking does with Maximov's like smothering fucking grappling. But, you know, the rest of the card, Sun Sao is fighting, Dusko Todorovic versus Jordan Wright. But just off like the names that I guess I've said so far, are there any fights on that card that stand out to you? And like, just what do you think? I guess.
It's really just, I think the big story is Cub Swanson's bantamweight debut. I'm excited to see him stand and bang there with some of the guys that they have there. But
yeah, man.
I mean, I don't, to be fair, I don't know, like, is his opponent,
Martinez?
Yeah, is he someone that, is kind of just, like, hung around for a little bit, put on some good fights with other guys?
He's a younger dude. He's more on the come up. I wouldn't say he's a top prospect, but he's definitely good. He's got really good striking. He's like precise. He's got a lot of power in his hands and in his feet. Let me just look. I'm pretty sure he has like a couple of interesting fights on his resume. But it's a good fight for Cub because it's like one of those guys who's gonna stand and bang with him. And I don't know, like, I want to say I'm like super excited to see Cub at 135, but on the other hand, I think about like just history, and I'm like, there's not too many people who go down and weight like later in their career and it goes well, but they are giving him like a pretty like good matchup, like someone who he can have success. I mean, I remember the fight versus Davey Grant. He was doing pretty good against him, and then he got hit with an overhand left from fucking hell. But since then, he's been on a 3-fight win streak. All 3 of them have been unanimous decision wins, but they're like dominant, like outstriking the guy. He has a win over Thomas Almeida. Obviously, he's really good. So Jonathan Martinez is definitely no slouch, but Cub, honestly, like, he hasn't looked too horrible like lately. I feel like I don't know if he's coming off a win. I'm gonna like check that out. I remember he had the one loss to Giga. That's right. Oh my god, I almost forgot about that fight. How long has it been? Yeah, December of 2021 is when he last fought, and he knocked out Darren Elkins, which I vaguely remember because it was really early. So, I don't know. Who would you pick in that? I mean, I guess you don't really know as much about Martinez, but maybe based off what I just told you.
Well, yeah, and it doesn't help that this is Cub Swanson's first fight at bantamweight.
That's true.
I don't know. Honestly, I think this might be like a scale kind of thing, like just
how he looks,
how both of them look, and
It's interesting.
Either way, I think it's gonna be a fun fight. I like this. I like the move down for Cub Swanson. Honestly, I think it's
Not a
just
bad
makes for.
idea.
I think it's gonna make for more entertaining fights from him.
Yeah, there's mad bantamweights on the planet like that are in the UFC who are insane, and for the featherweights, he's fought so many of them at
Yeah,
this point.
hopefully, I mean, hopefully, you don't see him get like fed to any. I mean, because bantam. We talk about all the time how just ridiculously stacked bantamweight is. So like there's gonna be a new up and comer like just all the time there just in a division like that. I hope he doesn't get like fed to somebody at some point.
It's tough because they're both really good strikers. Like Martinez too, he has like a pretty. It's like a if I'm thinking correctly, he has more like a Muay Thai type style, and he likes to kick the legs. He's got heavy hands, like I said. It's gonna be crazy, I think, one way or another. But it's just that Cub Swanson, he fights with more of like that wild striking style,
Yeah.
and then Jonathan is more like straight, and he's gonna be coming right at you pretty much.
Which is probably something that Cub's gonna have to adjust a little bit.
We'll see. I mean, he's got really good footwork. It's just kind of like you said, like we have to wonder how he's gonna do cutting down to 35, and also just the fact that he's been in so many crazy fights and he's getting older and he's fighting a dude who has some power and is a good striker. So I'm curious to see how he'll deal with it. But what about that flyweight fight, dude, with Royval and Askarov? I didn't even know that was happening. That's a crazy.
This is a
fight.
pretty like. I don't want to say because I mean the card doesn't even happen. We're still a week away from it, but like, yeah, this is one. It's fun. I mean, it's pretty funny. Like after our last episode, and then all right, this is a pretty like quality card here. I'd say.
That's true. Yeah, we were shitting on it a little too early, weren't we? Because it's not too bad.
It's shaping out pretty. This has all the potential to be fight of the night right here, with this flyweight fight. So, if I had to make. I do have a prediction though.
I think I do too, the more I think about it, but what's yours?
Man, this is gonna be. This has a like title eliminator feel to it, because I think whoever loses is like, man, it's gonna be pretty tough to get like back to where they are right now. I mean, and for Askarov's case, I think Askarov's the one with more to lose, and I like him as my pick.
I 100% agree with that, actually.
Yeah, dude. I think Brandon Royval has kind of, not that, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, Brandon Royval is like more or less recently a former champion.
In what? In like?
No, he's not. He's had his shot at the title though, right? The flyweight title.
No, definitely no. He the closest he got was when before like Moreno won the title. They fought in the title eliminator, and that was if y'all remember Moreno. He TKO'd him in the first round because his shoulder, I think, popped out. And then, like, the fight ended. So it was
dude, it's like, I don't want to see any of these guys lose, but...
Yeah, and Askarov, like, he's been on a tear, too. And I want to say he missed weight in one of his fights, though, too, which is not good for someone, like, who's right up to the title picture, because you want to obviously see them make weight. You don't want another Hamzat situation where some dude's coming in overweight and then... Yeah, we don't have to go back into
I think what
that.
I was trying to get at before is like Brandon Royval, he's just fought more guys. Like, obviously the dude's at the top. So
puts on fun fights.
Yeah.
Too.
And it's like, damn, but if I'm making like a completely just, straight up like 100% decision the fight's about to happen, like my money's on Askarov.
Yeah, it's just that wrestling. Dude.
Yeah, dude. I think, and even beyond the wrestling, I think he really just can bring like a complete package, honestly, especially for a division like flyweight where you could really use something like that. But
yeah, his striking seems to get like a lot better too every fight. His kicks are really good.
That's what I'm intrigued to like see in this next fight.
Yeah,
especially with someone like Royval.
The reason why
any of these guys up top at flyweight really.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I agree with you with this fight too, just also because I think of the way that Royval fights, and we're talking about Cub Swanson with a wild style. Brandon Royval blows him away in that category.
For Cub, just the way like Cub just that works in his favor like most of the time than not. Or I don't know. At least with a guy like Askarov,
I don't see it
me
because like
neither.
he's gonna spin and
It
he's
is
gonna be on his
unfortunate.
back,
I feel
pretty much.
bad for Royval. That's why that's kind of why like even it's like damn, it feels like this is a guy that like should be like constantly around the title picture, which like
He kind of is,
yeah,
though.
he
It's
kind of
just
is,
like-
but he's got like 1 foot in and 1 foot out of the door.
He's kind of like Bisping, like before he won the title, like when he just always gets to these like title eliminators, and that's
Dude,
the fight
it
that he can't win.
sucks. It's like
He'll get there though.
Yeah.
I just feel it. One day, I don't know if it's gonna be this one because Askarov.
yeah, me
That's
neither.
a
Was
big
like
ask,
damn. It's like I don't want to count him out already, but
no, he's definitely not counted out. If he loses, I
no
think
way.
like you said, I think Askarov has more to lose because, you know, the weight things in the past and the fact that his style isn't as like entertaining as Brandon Royval. Like, because Royval's a guy you could always put in a title fight and people would be excited just because you know what he brings every time he fights. But against Askarov, I think the spins are going to kill him. I think he's going to get taken down. And he's got great jiu-jitsu, but I don't think he's submitting Askar, to be honest. That's a tough ask, like I said. But overall, I think it's like a pretty good card. I figure the last one we could talk about because then we can transition to one of the other things that we had on our minds. But UFC 280 is obviously the week after that, and that card is one of the best of the year. You know, the main card is insane. Damn, is that true? There's no way. I don't know if this is true because I'm on Wikipedia, so I might have to go on Tapology. Because I don't know if Tapology has the order, though. So that's why I'm not, like, 100% sure. Okay, just don't give me the answer I need then. But, no, it says Sean Brady and Belal Muhammad is the feature prelim, which, like, should not happen. That should be on the main card. Like, what are we talking about? These guys are the top welterweights in the world. Let's see, is it gonna... I'm gonna try and see if I can figure this out. Yeah, no, it is, apparently. That's crazy to me. This is the main card, so maybe you can, like, give me your opinion. The main card is Chookagian versus Fiorot, Beneil Dariush versus Gamrot, which I think you're gonna obviously be able to figure out which fight I would replace. So, Beneil Dariush versus Mateusz Gamrot, Petr Yan versus Sean O'Malley, Sterling Dillashaw, and Oliveira Makhachev. You know, I think that Oliveira Makhachev should be on the prelims, actually.
Yeah.
No, like,
let's really sit and think about this, huh?
Jesus.
Kalen Chookagian and Manon Fiorot should not be on the main card.
I get it because they want to build like the winner of this fight, which they probably think is going to be Fiorot, which I don't think is a sure thing, honestly. But I think if Fiorot wins, like,
well, I know they want to push Fiorot.
Yeah,
like they're really trying to do that. Which I mean, yeah, exactly. But
it's just like, come on, like Belal versus Sean Brady. That's a great fight.
They should let. I don't.
I mean, I will say this before you go on, though. You know, for all the casual audiences out there, Sean Brady versus Belal Muhammad, since it's on the prelims, that means it's a free fight, and it's going to be on ESPN. So I do urge everybody to turn on their TVs when that fight comes on. And I'm not even saying that it's going to be like an all-out war, but these two guys are two of the best fighters in the welterweight division, and the fact that they're on free like ESPN prelims is beyond me. I can't. Sean Brady's 15-0 and ranked number 8 in the world, and then obviously Belal Muhammad is literally number 3. So it's like that's a title eliminator type of fight too. Like I think it's just because welterweight might be so log jammed at the top, so maybe they think another fight might be needed for both. But I don't know, man. Because if Belal wins, like, how can you deny him? He's beaten Luke. You know, if he beats Brady, that's him. I think he beat Wonder Boy. You know, it's just like, I don't know. I don't agree with that being on the prelims. But in terms of the fight itself, though, you know, this is a fight that a lot of people like who are into MMA are talking about because you got Sean Brady, who's an exceptional grappler, really strong, versus Belal Muhammad, who's pretty much good everywhere. What do you think of this fight? Who do you think is going to get it done?
I didn't like it initially for Belal Muhammad, but as we get closer and closer, I think I could see it being like pretty close. I mean, I don't see anyone getting finished, but you know,
Definitely not Sean Brady. I don't think because
No.
Belal's not exactly a finisher.
Yeah, I don't see. Yeah, exactly. I don't see, and I'm always a fan of these 5 round, just constant action fights. So that's what I'm expecting.
No, this
Hoping
one's
for.
3. You mean after me,
Oh,
right?
yeah, this is 3. This is 3. Well,
Yeah.
any full length fight. That's just there's no like just. The ref doesn't have to like encourage action to happen, like because that's already being taken care of, and then some. Like I like a fight like that. So I think that's what I'm expecting actually from this fight. Not even what I think. Like, so I don't.
It's a tough call.
Yeah, and so if I still had to make a call for who to win, I would still say Sean Brady, but I don't hate this fight as much as I did for Belal Muhammad at first.
I would agree with that. I only lean.
But I mean, I am gonna, because if I really am interested to see like who's checking in as the underdog and who's not.
I will look that up while
because there might be some pretty good money there.
Let me see, DraftKings.
And like Sean Brady minus 180 or something.
That's your guess? Let's see, because I'm about to be on there. Oh damn, Muhammad Makayev is fighting on UFC 282. I'm trying to find it. You're pretty close. Yeah, Sean Brady's minus 130 favorite, and then Belal's a plus 110 underdog. So it's very close odds.
It's one of those It's one of those where I think you want to hedge it, but the underdog is like the underdog would get the majority of my money. Yeah. So Belal Muhammad right there, I think that looks really good.
I would agree with that. I think that he's like a good pick from like a betting perspective. From like a technical point of view, I think the only thing that worries me about like Belal Muhammad against Sean Brady is the fact that Sean Brady is one of the strongest fighters in that weight class, and like Belal, he's good at like sticking and moving and stuff.
Yeah,
but once he gets his
Belal's
hands on
really gonna try to work that. I think he's really gonna try to work like just every like grappling situation. I think he's probably gonna be the one shooting more than Sean Brady is, in my opinion.
I think he has to.
Yeah.
I think if like he doesn't, Sean's gonna take him down, and he's got great takedown defense. But like I said, Brady's just so strong, and there's no blueprint on how to beat this guy.
The thing is, Belal's probably once Belal gets him down, he's gonna have to hold him there.
Yeah, I don't see that happening honestly, and I could see the other way around happening. Like I could see, because the way that I think Belal wins is by mixing it up, but keeping it mostly on the feet. Because I think even if he does get him down, he's risking getting reversed and all this other crap. And I'm sure Belal doesn't think he's going to get reversed. And, he's been training with Khabib, and Khabib's actually going to be in his corner. So that's obviously a pretty good advantage because, Khabib, the UFC hypes it up and stuff, but he is like a really good coach. Like, he knows what he's talking about. So that's a good guy to have in your corner, especially against a dude like Sean Brady who has like a Khabib-esque style.
He got the right guy coaching him for this fight.
Yeah, but, that's for sure.
Man, yeah. He's the underdog for a reason, is really all I'm trying to say. Like Sean Brady, I know Belal has been the one, just this whole string of good fortune and whatnot. And he's really like putting his name on the map now, but the welterweight is just as stacked, if not more stacked, than we were just talking about bantamweight. Sean Brady's another one of these guys who just you don't hear a whole lot of like out in the mainstream, and it's not gonna. I mean, this fight's literally on the prelims, so like it's not gonna really change for this fight, but.
They might think it's going to be a grappling snooze fest. That's might be.
Yeah, that is what they think.
I understand it because like. Belal, me and you, we're big Belal fans on this show. We think Belal's a cool dude. But
exactly, I don't think
you can talk about it objectively. Like, he's not an exciting fighter by that. Like, I mean, he's had good fights. Like, we're not even saying that. But, the higher up you get, especially against guys like Brady, it's going to get harder.
I would hope he knows, like, he doesn't have much room to do that. He can't just, stick and move and just more not get hit. Then
it's gonna be tough.
hit Sean Brady. So
Brady's gonna be coming forward, like you know that, and
yeah.
I think Brady's just as confident as Bilal's gonna be. That's what makes it fun too, because like none of these fighters like are coming off any losses really lately, so like they're both gonna be coming in with like extraordinary confidence, which makes the fight just really fascinating to me.
Well, I love this fight for Sean Brady. So
Same here. I would agree. I think the only other fight I want to talk about on the card right now, I think we could probably talk about like Dariush and Gamrot, and then the 2 championship fights like week before. But the one fight I wanted to break down, just because like I was talking a bit about it on Instagram, because I've been seeing like more and more about it as it gets closer, and that fight is Petr Yan versus Sean O'Malley, and like I would say that like most MMA fans probably think that like Petr Yan is gonna just run through Sean O'Malley, and I don't like, I think O'Malley was definitely like a little like screwing around a little when he said casuals are the ones who were saying that, but like he's got a solid point. Like if you know what you're looking at and you've watched both like O'Malley and Yan's fights, O'Malley's got a better chance than people are giving him credit for. I don't think I'm being biased in saying that, because trust me, if I thought he was gonna lose, I would say it. Like, but I think this is gonna be a lot better of especially, and I think the biggest thing is the fact that this fight is 3 rounds. Because if it was 5 rounds, I would pick Yan all day, no question. But he kind of has like.
It's true.
I saw James Krause talking about it a little, and he actually brought up a solid like comparison. Petr Yan like not in the same way, but he has like a similar pace in his fights as Chito Vera, in the sense that he builds as the fight goes on. And in a 3-round fight, that has the potential to go very badly wrong on the scorecards if he's not able to finish O'Malley. And like, people think Petr Yan is like untouchable, which is crazy considering he's lost like multiple fights in the past couple of years. But the thing is, like, you watch the one fight that I take a lot from is his fight with Sandhagen, and I know what people are going to say. Well, Yan beat Sandhagen, but people don't remember the early rounds of that fight where Corey Sandhagen was piecing Petr Yan up. And if I remember correctly, that was the first 3 rounds, or 2 rounds, honestly. So if O'Malley does that for 2 rounds and Yan only gets the 3rd, O'Malley wins that fight. And O'Malley's built the same way as Sandhagen. They have the same type of fight style, and I would argue that Sean O'Malley has a lot more power, and he's a lot faster than Corey Sandhagen. But in terms of, it's just the experience factor, like, because Sandhagen, by the time he fought Yan, he had already fought like a bunch of killers, and O'Malley, he's just starting to get thrusted into that. But I don't know, like, because I just think of both of their recent fights, and like O'Malley is coming off the Munoz fight, which again, nobody wants to give him any credit because he's Sean O'Malley, but he didn't get hit in the head one time in that fight. And everybody before the fight was saying that Pedro was going to kick his ass, and then all of a sudden after the fight, everybody's like, oh, Pedro's washed. Well, how's he you can't have it both ways. Like, either he's an elite fighter and he's going to whoop O'Malley's ass, or he's washed. Like, you can't just switch your opinion after the fight. Like, that's crazy. So, and I don't even think that Pedro Munoz is like as great as he once was, but he's still a good-ass fighter who poses a lot of problems for people. And like I kind of mentioned with Yan and Sandhagen, I think of that fight because Pedro Munoz is a similar size to Petr Yan, except obviously he has a little bit of a different striking style. I'm not saying that Jan's not going to be able to hit him, because I think he will, but I don't like... I see O'Malley starting this fight the same way he started the Munoz fight, which is sticking and moving and evading Petr Yan most of the time, because it's not impossible. Like, Petr Yan is right in front of you, and he's going to be coming in with, like, kind of like I said for Jonathan Martinez, he's going to be coming straight forward, front to back, and he's not going to be moving as much, like, with the side-to-side stuff like Sugar Sean is going to be doing. And I still don't have, like, confidence in the pick, because I just need to see what happens in this fight. But the more and more I think about it, like, I really think I'm taking O'Malley in this fight. And, I'll look at the odds, like, for your purposes, too. And I'm sure that this would, it'd be a good bet, too, because O'Malley's a plus 255 underdog, and Petr Yan's a minus 305 favorite. I guess I'll go to you now. What do you think of those odds? And then I guess, what did you think of my whole breakdown of that fight? I have more that I can get into, but I guess just I want to let you give your thoughts.
Well, I mean, I think the odds are fair because they're definitely not reflective of what you just said. Like people are trying to make this fight out to be as if Jan is just gonna, just run circles around Sean O'Malley. Because I don't think that's, I won't say I don't think that's gonna happen, but I don't think it's the most likely thing to happen.
Can I say this too before you continue? I also have been hearing just like around, I guess like the scene, the MMA scene, that Petr Yan has been taking this fight very, very seriously. Like, he knows that O'Malley is a legitimate good fighter in this division, and that if he doesn't take him seriously, he can come in there and beat him. And I like that because Petr Yan's smart for recognizing that Sean is actually capable of beating him. Because a lot of people, like we were just saying, don't think that Sean O'Malley is capable of beating him. And I think that's out of hatred, not out of factual evidence, because I've yet to, like, all the people who pick against O'Malley and, like, that aren't, MMA fighters or just, like, pundits and stuff, they have no reasoning for why they're picking against O'Malley. They're just like, because he stinks. Like, well, he stinks, but yet he's only lost to Cheeto, and even that fight, he looked pretty good. So I don't know. I really think that O'Malley is going to be able to evade a lot of shots. And he does crazy shit with his feints, too. Like, he's so quick with it. Like, he has hip feints, arm fakes, and you just never know where he's going to go with it. But
I think simply whoever can control the center more is more suited to win this fight. I think it's going to be more on the feet than... Because I think if O'Malley's the one controlling the center for majority, and then Jan's the one backed up against the cage, then Jan's the one, he's going for takedowns, like, at any turn that he can. I think Sean O'Malley,
you should test him. I really do think you should try and take him down.
I think in that case, like, I guess depending on where the fight's at and what's already happened, I think Sean O'Malley could I think Sean O'Malley and his takedown defense could do some wonders for him too in this fight.
People think he's a shitty grappler too.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to just lay out right now and just think about, because it's like I think people jump the gun a little too quick, and then for no real like good reason either. It's more just like, they're just not fans of Sean O'Malley. And
I get it. Like, his shtick isn't for everybody, I mean, obviously, I'm only a big fan of him. Well, not only, because he's obviously an awesome fighter. But his podcast is obviously, well, not really anymore, because now they don't talk about the same shit that they used to talk about. But back when I started watching his podcast, Timbo's Sugar Show, with him and Tim Welch, like, they used to talk about, like, healthy living, like, meditation, all this cool stuff, and, like, stuff that actually helped me, like, improve my own life. So, like, because of that, I always appreciate Sugar Sean. But it's just, like, people don't see that side of it. They see, what he posts.
Yeah, no, they see him as arrogant and cocky, and it's like, well, listen, and it's like, people come off as like, this isn't the sport to know, to be doing all that or something like that. It's like,
and that's where I go to Colby, because Colby always says, like, we're in the fight business and people get offended about words.
The newer fans are Sean O'Malley's probably one of the fighters that gets newer fans into the sport.
I think you could argue in terms of, like, not just, the hardcore MMA fans, but just like a casual audience. I think you could argue that Sean O'Malley is like a top 5 most popular UFC fighter. And, like, that's not saying he's the best.
Exactly. People don't like that, because it's more just like, how he carries himself. Like, he's himself. That's it. I mean,
he's confident too.
Yeah,
like,
he's confident, and
people mistake it for cockiness, and they think that he's not putting in the preparation.
My thing is just, what I will say is that, maybe, like, I don't want to say he is, because who knows if he is or if he's not, but maybe him looking too much into, like, what outside people are saying, like, doubting him and stuff. Whether or not he uses that as fuel, or like it like actually like annoys him. I think he's gonna have to manage that properly. Like, he can't really just like be thinking about, like, oh, they think I can't beat they think I can't beat this guy. This guy's gonna crush me and all. Like, I think he's just gotta zone in, and then
And I
take
believe
care
he
of
will.
business first.
Because, you know, going back to his podcast too, he used to talk a lot about, and I'm sure he still does. Like I said, I just don't have the time to watch it as much anymore. But he always used to talk about, like, you know, what his mentality is like right before fights and stuff. And I know he meditates. He really gets like locked in completely, and he shuts out all the noise. And he's out there. You know, he says he's putting on a performance, but you know he wants to win. Like he's trying to win. All this goes away if he loses, and he knows that. So it's like you gotta prepare the way you've always prepared, and like he has been. He has a great team around him. Tim Welch is an awesome head coach.
That is very promising.
I like it. Like, and you see even on Instagram, like he'll post like the sleep trackers and stuff that he's got, and like he always used to talk about on the podcast all the stuff that he does with his strength and conditioning that's gotten better. And I've always hated the narrative that he's got weak legs just because of the Cheeto fight. Obviously he broke his foot in the Sukumtov fight way back when. But the Cheeto fight, like, I don't know how to stress it like any other. I'm gonna like look into the camera. That kick would have put anybody down. He hit him in the nerve, not the calf, the nerve. He could have hit a heavyweight with it, and if he hit him in that nerve, the heavyweight would have fallen down. It's like, it's just mind boggles me how people just refuse to acknowledge the fact that Cheeto landed on, like, it's not a lucky kick. That's not what I'm saying. Like, he was aiming for a spot. He took him out. That's what you want to do in a fight. You want to injure your opponent to the point where they can't fight anymore. And just because it was a fluky shot doesn't make it lucky. So, like, I'm not even saying that. Cheeto beat him. But the fact that people just use that to say, well, just kick his legs. Like, it's such a dumb thing to think. Because Almeida tried it. And then in the last fight, Pedro Munoz tried it. And it doesn't work. So it's like, I just can't stand that stupid narrative that everybody tries to put out there. They say it every time he fights. And Petr Yan has good leg kicks too, so they're already saying it. It's just like, that's not the way. Like, you got to do more than kick the guy's legs. Like, you're not just going to finish him by kicking his calf 100 times. Because he checks half of them, and he comes back with 3 shots right down the middle because he's so fast. And, like, I feel like Petr Yan is smarter than that, though, which is why this is, like, a really interesting fight. It's just the fact that it's 3 rounds that makes me, like, so unsure about what's going to happen, because is Petr going to turn up the pace early, which I think he has to do? I don't know, man. But I guess right before we move on, just if you do have a pick for this fight, what would it be?
Yeah, man. I'm gonna go with Yan right now.
It's fair.
I'm gonna stick with Yan right now.
All right, that's a fair pick. Like, I can't even fault you for it, because honestly, at first I thought it was Yan by far, and then just the more I looked into it is how it kind of changed my mind. I think Yan doesn't come out with the same urgency that he should, like that he maybe used to before the title fights, and I think he's gonna play it a little more careful, which I think plays into O'Malley's favor. And I think it's about round 2. I really do. Because I think round 1 is going to be an O'Malley round, and if it gets to rounds 2 and 3, I think round 3 is safe to say it's probably going to be a Petr Yan round, unless O'Malley really does prove that he's what he says he is. Because you think about the Munoz fight too. Obviously, it was a no contest, but right before the eye poke, O'Malley was tuning him up. Like, that fight was turning very fast, and it's very interesting to me. I really like this matchup, and I honestly respect Petr Yan for taking this fight, because it's a risk.
I may have to look at
risk.
what Sean O'Malley by decision prop looks like.
I could probably find that.
That sounds pretty good. I like Petr Yan as a money line pick, and then whatever that is for Sean O'Malley. That's pretty interesting to me.
I cannot find it right on here, but then again, I'm also I barely go on this site. Let me look it up one more time. I could probably find it. O'Malley, and then I guess what would that be called? Because I know the money line, obviously, it's like finish odds, right, or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trying to find it. I want to find DraftKings. I want to keep it consistent.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just hard. I can't Okay, here we go. think this is where it might be. Maybe not. That's exactly where I was before. That's confusing. I'll tell you this: the total rounds, though, it's over 2.5 is -185, and under 2.5 is +150, which I actually think is pretty interesting. That's very close.
Mm-hmm.
I think you could argue for either of them too. I don't know.
I like the range of outcomes that this fight has to it.
Yeah, because it could be anything.
Because I don't think either of them are like far-fetched either. Whether it's an O'Malley knockout finish or a Jan submission finish, or
even an O'Malley submission, which is crazy to think about right now. Oh my goodness. I love this fight. Like I got O'Malley. I think it's by decision, but I got O'Malley, and I think that's where I'm gonna leave.
I'm gonna stick with Jan right now. I like the money line on it, so.
All right, man. Well, moving on to the next thing, and probably I guess the only thing that happened in combat sports that we really want to talk about. And, Alistair Overeem, as we mentioned, came back in kickboxing against Petr Hari in Glory, and he defeated him by unanimous decision. They had open scoring. Hari was winning most of the fight, and Overeem needed to do something drastic to turn it around, and he did. He dropped Hari a couple times late in the fight and got the decision win. And, it's a great win for Overeem, honestly, but I think the conversation where it should go. And I do want to say, though, like I said, great win, hella respect. I think he's back on the horse meat, which means I think he's on some sauce. I don't know, man, because he looked big. Like, I think did I send you the picture, or did I just post it?
Yeah.
Like, he looked gigantic at the weigh-ins. I was like, damn, this man's back in his prime right now. He had the same mohawk too that he used to have back in the day, and Petr Hari, he's good too. I'm happy that he won. It's cool to see Overeem still doing well in combat sports after the UFC, because we've talked about it God knows how many times about how many fighters they'll leave the UFC and they just ruin their legacies. Overeem seems to be adding to his, so that's pretty cool for him. But it's just interesting to look at what the use of steroids in combat sports, because everybody has a different opinion on it. Some people want to think that not many people are on some shit. Some people think everybody is. Some people think maybe some aren't. But I don't know. What would your opinion be on combat sports and steroids right now in combat sports? Do you think that? I mean, one, do you think it's a huge problem? And that being as in safety for fighters and the overall number of people who are on it. But I don't know, what would be your thoughts, I guess, just on steroids in combat sports right now?
Well, it is a problem because unless everybody's doing it, all right, then somebody's cheating, and then somebody also just has an even better chance of really hurting their opponent. So they do have to there's got to be something put in place to because you got to look out for the opponent too, there was the one I forget the names in particular, but it was one fight and it did get canceled, but
you're thinking of Manel Cape?
Yeah,
that was a weird one. Yeah, because then they fought in it was Singapore, because Singapore let Manel fight in Vegas and no one in America would, which is. Hey, man. That's what I'm saying.
See, that's an issue.
People want to sing, praise USADA, but, USADA can only do so much if the UFC's just got to put a guy on a card. I don't know, man. That stuff's all fishy to me. It really is. And then you think of, the Nate Diaz stuff, too, back in UFC 244, Fight Week, when he was USADA flagged one of my tests, and they said I could still fight. So why would they say that? If you tested positive, you should not be fighting. And even Nate was like, I'm not going to fight because I'm not going to win, and then they're going to tell everybody I cheated. So I'm not going to fight. I'd rather them solve it. And then 3 days later, miraculously, Nate didn't cheat. So it's I don't know, man. That stuff is all fishy to me, because it's USADA, yes, they're an independent company, but I think they're paid by the UFC. So it's they don't well, I think they do report to the commission too, but they also report to the UFC. So if they say something to their employer and their employer is like, we don't want this to get out right now, don't say anything, then what are they gonna like? What are they gonna do? Like, you're gonna try and lose this huge contract? No.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's why I feel like I agree with you. Like, I think it's a big problem, like in terms of safety, because some guys might be on it and some people might not be. But also just like the fact that we don't know how many people are on it. You know, I think personally it's like not like half and half, like literally, but like probably a good amount that do and a good amount that don't. But it's tough. I mean, like, you really can't, like, there's so many people who've gotten caught that you wouldn't expect to get caught. Kind of like Bobby Green. I don't know if you heard about that. Did you hear about Bobby Green?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, he got suspended 6 months for like a banned substance. It's not. I don't know enough about it. I probably shouldn't get into it too much. But he got banned 6 month suspension for like a banned substance, and you know, Bobby Green is like not somebody who crosses your mind.
USADA does not feel very independent. Essentially, is what we're trying to say, and that's pretty much the whole problem. That's why guys keep doing it, and why they're gonna keep doing it, and
it's still better than it was, though. I will say that, because before it was like the Wild West, and it still is. Like in these other promotions, like, you know, one championship. You know, we've talked about steroids and jiu-jitsu. Like, that's a whole other fucking ball game. In boxing, it's not as apparent. Like, you see guys get flagged for it. But kickboxing, I think it's pretty apparent, because I mean, did you see Overeem before this fight? Like, he hasn't looked like that in years. But hey, man, all the power to him. I don't even care with that. But like in the UFC, it's a little tougher sometimes, because I think of certain fights. Like, I remember that one girl, Ariane Carnelosi, was fighting, and she was just huge. Like, she was so jacked. Like, legitimately, like, I'm not just like fucking around here, but like literally, like, was built like a man. Like, and all these female fighters, I remember, were in the comments when she won, and they were like, "Yeah, let's get USADA to test this." And it's funny, like, if you look, I'm pretty sure I could probably find this too. If you you look up how, hold on, testing numbers. I think this is what I want to find. It basically is like, you can find like what athletes were tested the most by USADA, and I'm pretty sure Carnelosi, the one that I just mentioned, she was like near the top of the list. I'm just trying to find MMA in here. Let's see, year. I gotta like find. This is too funny. It was like the first like half of 2022 or some shit. She got tested like a ton of times. It doesn't help me. All right, I'm literally about to find it, if I can actually spell this girl's name right.
It's not.
She's been tested 12 times this year. In 2022, we're 10 months in, and she's already been tested 12 times. Dude. So, I don't know, man. If USADA's tested her 12 times and they like, haven't found nothing, it's like,
I get why the UFC does what they do about it, but man, that's just like, it's not really like a winner. It's like, on one hand, like, you have people cheating, and like on the other, all right, now you got to punish all these guys that are cheating, and it's like, now you really like, there's like a big now that creates a problem of its own. So, yeah, it's weird, but.
And then, like, you look at it, like, compared to other sports, too, like, you know, I think of basketball, for one, because I remember looking this up on, like, a whole rabbit hole one day, like, a few months back, and it was talking about just what they test for in the NBA, and they're big about, like, HGH testing, and, sorry, but they basically, like, they don't test heavily for EPO. Like, the way that they do it is I think they do urine tests, and they tell you, like, in advance when the urine test is going to be. So it's like, you know, what NBA player is going to do HGH? It's a cardio sport. Why would you want bigger muscles in a cardio sport? If you're doing because you look at, like, Lance Armstrong, for example, in cycling. that's a cardio sport. He was taking EPO because it like makes you able to like have that type of cardio. TJ Dillashaw EPO, and I think that if an NBA player was going to do steroids, it would be like something like EPO. And then you look at how they test for it, an idiot could get past that drug test. And it's like you look at some of these guys in the NBA, and I'm not even going to mention them by name, just you never want to get fucking sued. But like I'm sure you could think of like a few guys who are like getting up there in age and they're still like performing like their prime selves, and like if EPO is like that easy to do, why wouldn't they do it? Like it's the same thing with MMA. Like if everybody else is doing it and they have the unfair advantage, then like why shouldn't someone else
exactly.
do it?
That's how it's intended to be. Like they have everything in place because they obviously have to, but there's like in a way there's like if you can figure out the leeway to it, then you can get like that's it. You can get away with it.
And even like baseball too is like the one that everybody thinks about with steroids, and those guys are on HGH and shit like that. But like you think of their reasoning why it's like similar to probably some of the MMA fighters, because I think about Barry Bonds, and that he's been big in the news lately because of Aaron Judge hitting 62, and people debating who's the real home run king. I'm a Yankee fan. It's Barry Bonds, but he, like a lot of the people I think that's like the reasoning why he did steroids in the first place was because he was a better baseball player than Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa. And Sammy Sosa and McGwire, they got all the love because they hit the home runs. So Bonds was pretty much like, well, let me do some steroids and show you how good I fucking am. And that's why he hit 73 and people were intentionally walking him with the bases loaded, like crazy shit. And, in baseball, it was almost like the UFC because for a long time, like they just kind of overlooked it. Like there was even like the one interview in 98 and they talked about it back then, and the reporter got shit on, blackballed, because all he pointed out that in McGuire's locker there was a testosterone booster, which is not normal for a guy who's like that age. And people were like, oh, how could you shit on this amazing achievement? And then, 2005 comes, I plead the Fifth Amendment, I'm not here to talk about the past to Congress, that's what McGuire said. So it's like, back then the MLB, they were kind of like how the UFC is, like they were testing for it, but they like
exactly
they definitely because you look at guys like McGwire and Barry Bonds back in those days, those guys were like fucking built like superheroes. And you look at some of the people who have been in the UFC over the years, Brock Lesnar, Overeem when he fought Brock Lesnar, like
that's how they intend it to be. It's in a way like so it's like they're not surprised at all by certain people they might catch, but
you're talking about the UFC, right?
The UFC, but kind of just in general too,
Yeah, well, the MLB, even like
you don't
really hear about it as much.
They're getting better with it, which is good.
Lately, it's been Tatis, and then I know Robinson Cano.
That's that's mainly because like everyone else starts to notice and stuff, so it's like, all right, well, we have to straighten this out a little bit, but at least with USADA and all that and the UFC, like that's a pretty tight relationship there. So
it's a little, I don't know, it's a little fishy because like I said,
that's what makes it fishy.
And it's not even shitting on USADA because I get it. Like if someone's paying a huge contract, like for you guys to do a service and they tell you to do something, you're gonna say no. It's not. I don't, and like I said, I'm not 100% sure how their protocols work either. So like I can't speak on it. Like say like shame on the UFC or shame on USADA. It's just like saying that maybe things just probably need to get a little bit better. Like they're definitely improving. It's not as bad as it was, but I think it needs to get a little better. But I think for now we can veer away from a little bit of fighting and just talk. We were talking about this a little bit like before the show because some cool shit happened with me and obviously your team, but the MLB playoffs, dude, they've been fucking rocking so far. Like I've been enjoying the hell out of it. Your Mets are playing game 2 as we speak. I'll look it up for you.
Game 3.
Oh, game 3, my bad. I'm an idiot.
Speak.
Let's see.
Win or go home.
So right now it is 2-0 Padres in the middle of the third. As we record this, obviously by the time this comes out, there will be a result and we'll know who won. But as we record this, it is 2-0 Padres in the middle of the third inning. and Tiz is probably very, very anxious. So we will definitely not go too much longer because I know you want to watch the game. And you went to was it game one?
Yeah.
That was cool. So how'd you get into that one?
My cousin, he was letting me know about it and stuff. So he found, the tickets we were originally going to get, they just rose up in price as we were going to get them. So he just spent extra to get, the seats we did get, which were very nice right down the left field line. And what wasn't very nice was the result of the game. But
Mad Max.
Yep. Man, I've got to wear it on the show one day. I've got this dope shirt too, with about DeGrom and Scherzer, and I obviously wore it to that game. It's like, wow, I've seen DeGrom pitch live. I've seen DeGrom hit a home run in person. I've seen DeGrom hit a home run, but now it's okay, now it's pretty much how they're co-aces and stuff. So it's the both of them, amazing aces and stuff. They're on that. It's both of them on an ace card. It's awesome. It's a great shirt. So it's hell yeah, we've got all everything is gonna line up. And Max, I really just I felt all right. It's the playoffs now. Things are getting a little dicey. So the offense, kind of anything goes. But obviously Mets have an awesome offense as well. But it's more all right, this is Max Scherzer's night. This is Edwin Diaz's night. The bullpen, it's going to be great pitching all around. And then just it was 4 home runs he gave up. Yeah, 4 home runs he gave up. It's we saw 5 home runs be hit, but it didn't even feel like it. It's wow. It's all I was thinking about was the scoreboard. It's 7-1. It's 7-1 in game 1 of the playoffs, and one of our aces started the game. Man, I was not feeling good at all.
I would imagine. I'm praying to the Lord that doesn't happen to the Yankees.
Yeah, but they got it done yesterday, so now they're playing this last game of the wild card, and
I hope by tomorrow we can have a good update. We'll see what happens.
So we'll see by the next episode whether or not the Mets are still playing baseball.
We'll see. I mean, I don't know what. I mean, obviously I'm a Yankee fan, so for me it's either way I'm cool with what happens.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm obviously stoked for the Guardians series. I told you right before the show, dude. Going to game 1, I'm sitting in the 7th row in right field, field level. Can't wait. I probably will be begging from my seat for Aaron Judge to re-sign. I'll be like, Aaron, please just re-sign. I hope I don't get kicked out. I'll definitely be doing my part though, Yankee fans. Don't worry, I'm gonna get him back. But I can't wait for that. That's gonna be wild. That's why I definitely want to talk about your playoff experience too, even though it was not.
Oh yeah, it was all. It's just wow. There's not a whole lot of good you can take from a 7-1 loss.
Let me ask you this though: before the game even started, what was the energy like?
It was great. It was really cool. It was my first Mets playoff game period, but at Citi Field too. It felt right. It just felt right. They were wearing the black unis and everything. So
I can't wait to go to the Yankee game, dude. That's gonna be on Tuesday night.
The result was terrible.
Yeah. Hey man. They're only down 2-0 right now. It's not that bad. We've seen teams come back from crazier already in the playoffs.
Damn.
And, the Phillies obviously beating the Cardinals.
That's how game 1 started too. God dang.
It's been a fun playoff series, and I obviously have been paying a lot of attention to the Rays and the Guardians too, because the winner of that was playing the Yanks. Now it's the Guardians playing them. So, those 2 games were wild. The 15 innings with no score in the second game, and then Bieber and McClanahan had another pitcher's duel in the first game, too. McKenzie and Glasnow looked really good. All our MMA fans were like, who the fuck are you guys talking about? But, me and Tiz are sports heads, too. We love MMA, but we love sports, too. And MLB playoffs are going, man. And I'm sure we'll have more to report about next week, whether it be about the Yankees and hopefully the Yankees and the Mets. But we'll see what happens with that one. But then moving, I'm obviously wearing my Saints jersey too, Michael Thomas, color rush jersey. The Saints finally got another fucking win. So did the Jets. The Jets beat the Dolphins.
Well, that's 2 in a row for the Jets.
That's good. What's their record now?
They're 3-2.
Damn. Okay. Saints are 2-3. Slowly working their way back to 500. I'm still pissed about that Vikings game. I refuse to talk about it. So, Next week we got the Bengals. I like that game for us.
Dude, it's so weird with the Saints. It's like, the the defense isn't on, then the offense is. If the offense is off, then the defense is on. That's what happened today.
The defense, like, they're really good. They just give up big plays at the worst times. Like, they'll stifle the whole Seattle offense, or any offense for that matter, and then they'll go up by 3, and that's when they decide to give up a deep ball to DK.
Yeah, that's a discipline thing then. I don't know I know like their new coach is a defensive head. I think he literally.
I'm pretty sure he's the defensive play caller too.
Well, yeah, that's a discipline thing then. I'm sorry.
They got to get better with penalties. That's all the coaching. Like, that's, to me,
Dennis Allen as head coach has not been going too great so far, but hopefully the future works out.
Hey, we're coming off a win. Seattle's good, man. People like to shit on Geno, but he's fucking been playing
right now. They're playing good, but they're not gonna finish like any better than like 6-11.
No, I'm talking about Geno though.
Geno.
Geno, I think has proven that he's legitimately like good at this point. Like, I've watched like a few full Seahawk games at this point, and like I don't think this is a fucking fluke. Like,
of course it's not.
Dude, because he's like setting records for how good he started, and like the Saints defense, as we've talked about, is crazy good.
Oh my god, I can't believe I'm even hearing this.
Yeah, well, just know
all this Geno Smith.
Coaches.
Yeah,
just
all this Geno. Nah, it's like wow. As a Jets fan, dude, watching Geno, I didn't even think Geno Smith would still be in the league right by now.
I respect it, man. I mean, he's got to know it's his last shot.
Shit, it's like, damn, like, of course. It's such a Jets thing to happen. But.
Yeah, I like Zach Wilson. I mean, he's banging people's moms and shit. Like, he's awesome. That guy's awesome. What was it? He slept with his mom's best friend or some crazy shit. Like, that's what it was. That's a dog right there. I don't know. I'd want that as my quarterback. I mean, Jameis and Andy Dalton are pretty awesome. I like them both for different reasons and stuff. But Zach Wilson, he's got that dog mentality, as we've talked about many times.
Yeah,
and
he sure does.
Last thing I wanted to talk about before we go is a mini fight breakdown, because it's not much of a fight and it's probably not going to be too much of a breakdown. But Draymond Green versus Jordan Poole, dude, man, like, if you guys don't follow the NBA much, Jordan Poole and Draymond, they had an altercation at the Warriors practice. Draymond kind of walked up in Poole's face and got pushed back, which I don't know how he wasn't expecting to happen. And then he comes back with just a right cross that knocked Jordan Poole into the shadow realm, man. And, you're a bigger NBA fan than me. What are your thoughts on this one?
It's just stupid. I don't even, like, why would you sucker punch your teammate like that? I think if you want to fight somebody, like, this is just not even just for this is like, hey, this is like a general, like, just show note, honestly. Like, you want to fight somebody, then make it clear to them that you want to fight them. And
I fucking hate that style of people who, like, come up to someone and they're like basically like coming up in their face, like, do something, and then they get mad when they get pushed. Like, what were you expecting, you moron? Like, I'm sorry, I don't like Draymond Green. Just FYI.
That's not the way. That's not the way to do it, because clearly Draymond Green didn't want to actually fight. He just wanted to freaking do whatever, for whatever reason he was pissed at.
It's like you run up on someone like that. You're walking up in his face, like, you don't expect him to push you back. Like, you don't let someone get in your personal space like that. And, like, then Draymond just punches him. Bro, he hit him hard with that. It was a right cross. They hit him clean. Like, he dropped. I don't know if it was just because of momentum. But he also wasn't expecting it, obviously. But that was a crazy shot.
I don't like that from Draymond Green. I think it's weak.
I don't think the Warriors are done, though, because of that. Because I think Steve Kerr is, like, the perfect guy to have coaching in a situation like this, because, he got punched by Michael Jordan in practice. So he knows a thing or two about this type of situation. And they're a great team as it is. They're a dynasty, literally, as we're watching it. We're watching it be formed. And
I think he's just gotta be like, I've got a problem with you. Like, let's settle it.
Yeah, that should never happen, though. Like, that shouldn't be something that, like, obviously we're talking about combat sports all the time. We love talking about fighting, but in the NBA, you should not be punching your teammates.
Exactly, and you can
even
see
in MMA, you shouldn't be really doing that.
You can see how some of what we talk about can apply to all these other things. It's like, I mean, it's that I just thought that was like, just simple, like, just sense, like, but come on, like, what are you really proving by just, sucker punching somebody? Like, first getting all up in their face and then getting mad that they react and then just sucker punching them.
Draymond's definitely bizarre. I don't know. I like what did Portnoy, didn't he like have a whole thing with Dave Portnoy before the finals, and
probably
he had a really funny shirt. I wish I remember that. But I don't know, man.
I think it something along the lines of like just trashing Barstool.
Well, I think he had a shirt on or something that said Draymond is a bitch, and then he said like, you're like an asshole, like, you're not setting like a good example or whatever, and then he had like a shirt the next game that said like Draymond is like it wasn't profane. I'm gonna find it now. It's gonna bug me. Barstool Draymond Green shirt. Let's see.
Draymond.
That's right. It says Draymond is a jerk face. I love that, man. I love that. That's funny. You might have to buy one of those shirts if you're a Celtics fan. I'm sorry. I know that the Warriors won, but that's a classic shirt, and I would like to see you own it. But anyway, I think we've talked enough about just every sport and MMA in this one. We said this one was going to be a more chill one. I think it definitely was. We rambled a bit about just whatever subjects that came to our mind, I guess, in this one. But it's been a fun one, recapping the world in sports with you. It's a little ESPN type broadcast, if I do say so myself. But next week, we got the UFC event, which I'd say is bit of a sleeper. The main event is okay, but the rest of the card is shaping up pretty nice. And then obviously after that, we have the pay-per-view. So we're going to have a lot to talk about there. I can't wait, man. So we'll see you guys next week.
Feel just like a superstar. Doing all these drugs, I don't think I'm gonna see tomorrow. Living fast, brand new dash up in a foreign car. This the type of shit that you be doing when you going hard.